So the first story that we're going to talk about is easily one of the most important international stories, an ongoing story, and one that the media actually seems interested in still covering, which is not true for some of the other stories we'll get to in this hour, and that is the rise of ISIS. Now, ISIS did not come about in 2014. It's been developing over the past few years, coming about from the creation and then destruction of al-Qaeda in Iraq. You then had the beginnings of ISIS in both Syria and Iraq. But 2014 was when they matured, and they certainly got the media coverage that they deserved. And that really, I think, culminated in their takeover of Mosul. They've taken lots of territory in Syria, obviously quite a bit of territory, including oil-rich territory in Iraq. But Mosul was considered sort of the most important. That was when people woke up to the story. In the wake of that, perhaps because of their innovative use of social media, as well as their televised beheadings, they've gotten quite a bit of attention. We here, and I think around the country and around the world, quite worried about ISIS. But I do want to sort of look back on not just the rise of ISIS and our initial worries about what it could signal both for the region and for the world, but also at President Obama's response to it, which we were critical of in a number of different ways. And I think that it's been a few months at least. We can sort of look back and evaluate, did he make the right moves so far this year?
Okay, so let's start this conversation by going back to the Brothers of Doom, the Doom brothers. Okay, I actually have a different name for them. They're John McCain and Lindsey Graham. So of course their reaction to ISIS is going to be war, immediate, all-out war, right?
They're an imminent threat to the United States.
Imminent threat. We'll get to them in a second. But I've decided that I'm going to give them a porn name, which is already fun in the middle of an ISIS story. Okay, so I made up a fake German porn called Brutal Brothers.
No, we talked about
we talked about this
on
Old School on our podcast, right? So, but it's pronounced, of course, this is German, the Brutal Bruters.
The Brutal Bruters.
Okay.
I'd be shocked if that porn doesn't already exist.
I know, right? And it's German, so there's no way it doesn't exist. Okay, it's somewhere online. Okay, if it didn't before, it will after this. Okay, so I believe John McCain and Lindsey Graham are the Brutal Bruters. So let me show you Brutal Bruter number one, John McCain.
ISIS, what are we going to do about it?
Kill him.
That's my favorite clip. That's my favorite clip of the year.
All of them.
Okay, no, that's it. Kill him.
Yeah.
Okay. Did I stutter? What's the question? I know the answer is kill him. I forgot the question.
Yeah, but our strategy of going abroad and killing people has worked so far. So I mean,
that's
he's
true,
got all
yeah.
those case studies to work with.
Yeah, that's true. So now let's go to Brutal Bruter number two, Lindsey Graham.
The first thing I want to tell the American people, from my point of view, it is our fight. It is not just their fight. This is a radical Islamic army that's pushing the theory of a master religion, not a master race like the Nazis. This is not about bringing a few people to justice who behead the innocent in a brutal fashion. It's about protecting millions of people throughout the world from a radical Islamic army. They're intending to come here. This is a turning point in the war on terror. Our strategy will fail yet again. This president needs to rise to the occasion before we all get killed back here at home.
Okay, I had forgotten that he said brutal in the clip.
Oh, no,
What is happening here is brutal. And I would know something about brutal.
Well, he also predicted that we could all die as a result.
No,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
All
That was
of us.
amazing.
It's just classic fear-mongering that justifies doing the airstrikes, which we've been doing, which hasn't really changed much when it comes to ISIS. And just not to filibuster this, but just one thing that I think about a lot when we discuss ISIS is just the fact that we refuse to do any type of diplomacy, not with ISIS, but, I don't know, Muslim individuals that might feel disenfranchised by Americans. We don't think about stopping the drone strikes and all of these different, foreign policy moves that are actually leading to hostility toward the United States and strengthening ISIS.
Yeah.
So that's the part of it that amazes me.
I have an answer for Anna on what you do when you have a problem in America, okay?
ISIS, what are we going to do about it?
kill him.
Wait, can I propose sort of, maybe not a brutal brother, but a sidekick for them? I can't believe I didn't remember.
Brutal.
Yeah, and the odd thing is, I'm German, and I can't even pronounce that. But no, do you remember Bill O'Reilly's initial reaction to that when he said he wanted to set up the international mercenary army of ninja robots or whatever that we would fund? They'd be under our control, but totally independent. It would be like 30,000 people, and we just send them around the world, wherever they need to go. There are many things that Bill O'Reilly has not gotten his due criticism for, but I think that that is one of the largest ones. His total faith in mercenary armies to take care of an incredibly complicated military, economic, social problem in multiple parts of the world.
You know,
I've been wrong about a lot this year. I've sort of admired the people who do the pundit lists of things they got wrong. I don't write anything down, but I know I got a lot of shit wrong. One thing that I haven't yet gotten wrong that we are still standing firm on is that North Korea.
I knew you were going to totally mention that.
That's still in play. Come on, they didn't do it.
The FBI just like yesterday said that they think, they had some international help, but still North Korea.
That was a pretty big backpedal. That's how.
They all of a sudden international.
All of a sudden. So I'm just saying, I thought that we were over panicking about ISIS, and not just McCain and Graham, but everybody, and that when these guys are not, there's no way they're paying guys to soldier, they're not paying guys to run a government, and they now have to run places.
Yeah.
And the big New York Times story this last week was they're horrible at it. Mm-hmm. And
when early on we had heard the exact opposite of that,
because
especially in Iraq.
Right, but they don't know what they're doing. They can't make the plumbing work. They can't get it's the same reason North Korea didn't hack Sony. They can't do it. They're not sophisticated enough. Mm-hmm. And that will be their downfall, and that buttresses Anna's point. That's what you have to take advantage of.
Yep.
That's the sort of that unrest that will come with, hey man, my kids still got to go to school. I got it. I got it. Oh, terrific. You crucified that guy. Good, great for you. That was terrific. He needed it. He was a heretic. But I want my kid. I want my kid to learn math.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and also I remember when the story first started gaining momentum this year. I think the most interesting part of it was how ISIS was different from other terrorist groups. They were much more sophisticated when it came to using social media, reaching out to young people, convincing them, especially if they've been disenfranchised by American communities, to join them. And so that was kind of the thing that was the most intimidating about them to begin with. They were so influential.
Yeah.
And
the funding.
They're incredibly well
time.
funded, and they're a serious threat. And I mean, not just they're such a serious threat. The obvious seriousness of their threat is obvious.
And serious.
But I mean, they've killed people who wouldn't otherwise be dead.
Yeah.
So and they've created unrest and havoc. I mean, so I get it. I'm not minimizing it. It's just it's unfortunate that we have reached a state at the serious levels of dialogue, of which for some reason this show's not included in, right? But in the NBCs, the MSNBCs, and the Fox and the CNNs of the world, and believe me, I'm not equating them, but it's like, these guys are the worst things in the world, what do we do? Like, you can't go, wow, this is an interesting, terrible problem for a lot of people, and this is a complicated response, and I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to that point, I mean, as Ben pointed out with the Lindsey Graham clip, I don't know if you could have heard him during the clip, when Lindsey Graham said, these are not Nazis, like, the Nazis were no big deal.
He goes, they're trying to start a master religion, not a master race like the Nazis. That was, whatever, that was fine.
That was child's play, right?
Yeah.
No, but the Nazis killed, let alone the war where tens of millions died, but in the Holocaust, they killed 13 million people overall, right? Yeah. No, ISIS got a way to go before they catch up to the Nazis. So let's just bring the panic down for a second. So the next part of the conversation is what are we going to do about it? But I can't go to that conversation without showing you one more piece of panic. This is a Texas sheriff who is convinced that ISIS is going to come over the border. Let's listen in.
Well, I received an intelligence report that said that there was ISIS cells that were active in the Juarez area, which is northern part of Chihuahua State, and that they were moving around over there, that they had just that there was some activity.
Are you saying that ISIS is ready to come across, poised to perhaps execute what they have threatened to do, attacks on the United States, drown us in our own blood? Is that what you are saying?
We have found copies or people along the border where the trails of these people come across have found Muslim clothing. They have found Quran books that are laying on the side of the road or side of the trail.
That was awesome.
I didn't know that the man Elizabeth Hasselbeck is dumb. Man, drown us in our own blood. But you expect him when she goes, are they poised to come over here and drown us in our own blood? That what he wants to. Well, I'm not familiar with poised. You know what I got there was I watched that guy, and he's too easy to make fun of. But when you watch the documentaries of the JFK assassination and why I remain unconvinced, I have no theory, but I remain unconvinced that it was Lee Harvey Oswald, or that it certainly could have been others, because you listen to the guys running the investigation who wrapped it up in 36 hours, right? The whole thing, right? And they're like that guy.
Yeah.
And like, not a chance. Not a chance were these sophisticated investigators. And these were, and as we know, these were guys who routinely, when there'd be some crime, they'd go in and haul in a couple of black guys and beat the living crap out of them. And who knows how many of those they got wrong. And like, this is the most important crime in the history of the United States, and we're going to let that sheriff solve it? I don't think
not
so.
to mention, one of the, I suppose has been stretching back more than just in 2014, but you'll see this in a couple of the stories we're going to be talking about in this hour. It's that they use every single potential domestic and especially international threat, they have to tie it to the border. Because that is their overarching goal. If Ebola is scary, then it's especially scary because they could be coming up through the southern border. ISIS agents could be coming in. They haven't yet said that Palestinians or Russian forces are coming through the southern border, but they might be gearing up for that in 2015.
Hold. Okay, that could be
Putin's
next.
riding a horse over the border as we speak.
Yeah, no, this guy's on the Quranic books and the prayer books, none of that was true. Okay,
Right,
of course
none of that was true.
they didn't find any of that. Important question: will they drown us in our own blood or no? Okay, those are our two choices, and then later in that interview, that Texas sheriff winds up saying, she asked him, so what are you going to do with him if you find him? Oh, so we're going to send him straight back to hell, and then whenever their friends are going to pee down both legs. Okay. Okay.
Hard hitting.
Okay. What is being left unsaid in this story, largely in most of the coverage, is that we have restarted the Iraq War. So that it's being so underplayed, right? And not only have we restarted the Iraq War, it's bigger and better. Now it also involves Syria. Okay. So President Obama, other than Obamacare, his principal claim to fame is I stopped the wars, I stopped Iraq, especially Iraq because he first doubled down on Afghanistan. But now he's going to go out saying, I stopped the Iraq War, and then I restarted it, right? And I just think that he gets this enormous pressure from the media, from Washington, etc. War is the answer, we forgot the question, and that he often, and in this case, also buckled to it, right? So off we go, and we're going to do the bombings, we're going to hit some guilty parties, we're going to hit some innocent parties, as we always do in the bombings. That's going to create more enemies, it's going to help ISIS go, see, we're fighting the great devil, they're bombing all of us, join us. And instead of having them fight one another, as you guys were pointing out earlier, when you go to pick up the garbage and you don't do it, people get annoyed at you. But when America's dropping bombs, well, you can't worry about the garbage. You got to all rally around whoever your leadership is. Right now, unfortunately, in a vast stretch of Syria and Iraq, it's ISIS. So I'm not saying it's an easy problem. It's a very difficult problem. But the answer isn't always a hammer.